Welcome to this explainer. If you've ever felt that familiar knot in your stomach when tax season rolls around, believe me, you are not alone. Today, we're taking a really practical journey into mastering South African tax administration completely stress-free. We're going to break down the latest procedures from the South African Revenue Service, or SARS, and turn what often feels like this giant, daunting maze into a clear, totally manageable path. Okay, let's dive into this.
So, here is the big question. Is your tax return actually ready? We all know the anxiety that surrounds tax season, right? The fear of making a silly mistake, the absolute dread of an audit, or just getting tangled up in new rules. Well, take a deep breath. Today's explainer is your clear, simple survival guide. We're going to demystify these SARS procedures so you can take control of your taxes with absolute confidence. Here is our roadmap for today. We're covering avoiding common tax mistakes, filing season 2026 updates, updating your banking details, whereas my refund, verification versus tax audits, and finally, resolving disputes and complaints. Let's jump right in. Section 1. Avoiding common tax mistakes. The absolute best way to survive tax season is to avoid unforced errors right out of the gate. It's honestly incredible how simple these errors are, yet how frequently they happen. According to guidance from the Institute of Certified Bookkeepers, the most common mistakes are often the most basic. For example, failing to report all your income, like freelance work or rental income, is a huge red flag. Why? Because SARS already gets this data from third parties, so they already know. Another massive trap is mismatched information. If your return doesn't perfectly match the IRP-5 you got from your employer or the tax certificates from your medical aid, it's going to trigger a delay or an audit immediately. And, believe it or not, just forgetting to sign and date your return makes the whole thing entirely invalid. Paying attention to the little details here is definitely your best defense. Section 2. Filing Season 2026 Updates. Let's fast forward the timeline so you are completely prepared for the newest systems. SARS is really modernizing their approach this year. Get this, if you aren't registered for e-filing and don't have an email address, but you have verified your WhatsApp number, SARS can now send your encrypted notice of assessment, your ITA-34, directly via WhatsApp. That's a real game changer. Also, if you're claiming a medical aid deduction, you now have to actually select your licensed medical scheme from a specific drop-down list on the ITR-12 form. But here is the absolutely crucial point, the new declaration alerts. When you submit, the system validates your return instantly. If it flags anything, you get a declaration questionnaire right away. If you answer it to their satisfaction, your return processes normally. But if you decline it or just ignore it, your return gets immediately routed into a much longer verification process. Don't ignore those alerts. Section 3. Updating your banking details. Because you can do everything right on your return, but actually getting paid your refund relies entirely on SARS having your correct banking info. SARS is highly protective of your banking details to prevent fraud. They must verify your account before they pay out a single cent. To update your details, you have 3 valid methods. 1. You can use e-filing by completing the RAV01 Registration Amendments and Verification form. 2. You can use the Profile Management tab on the SARS Mobi app. Or 3. You can make an appointment and visit a SARS branch in person. Now, please make a strict note of this because it will save you so much frustration. SARS is incredibly uncompromising about security. They will absolutely not change your banking details via fax, through the post, or over the phone. No way. Do not waste your time even trying. Emailing changes is also strictly prohibited, unless you fall under very specific, documented, exceptional circumstances, like maybe an immigrant using an overseas account. For everyone else, stick to e-filing, the Mobi app, or a branch visit. Section 4. Where is my refund? This brings us to what is undoubtedly the most common question in the entire tax universe. It is completely valid to be eager to get your money back. But if your refund is delayed, one of these triggers is almost certainly the culprit. If SARS needs to verify your banking details, or if your return is selected for a verification or an audit, your payout hits an automatic pause. You also won't see a cent if you have outstanding returns from previous years. But here's a really important one to understand, the debt equalization process. Simply put, if you owe SARS money from a previous tax deck, they are going to automatically deduct that outstanding debt from your current refund before paying you whatever is left over. They get their cut first. Section 5. Verification versus tax audits. Let's bust some jargon and clarify the difference between these two processes. Being flagged by SARS sounds terrifying, but understanding this distinction is vital for your peace of mind. A verification is really just a standard quick check. SARS is simply comparing the numbers on your return against third-party data, like info from your bank or your employer. Once you upload your supporting documents, they aim to wrap this up within 21 business days. An audit, on the other hand, is a much deeper dive. In an audit, SARS legally and financially examines your accounting records and statements. This process can take anywhere from 30 business days up to a full 12 months, depending entirely on how complex your finances are.
So, what's the takeaway here? It's summarized perfectly by this quote right from the SARS guidelines. Whether it's a verification or an audit, do not ignore their letters. If you fail to respond to their requests for documents, SARS won't just let it slide. They will issue a revised assessment based purely on estimates or whatever third-party data they happen to have. Even worse, if they believe you are purposely understating your tax, they can slap you with penalties of up to 200% of the shortfall. 200%. Responding straight away is absolutely your best protection.
Section 6, Resolving Disputes and Complaints. Let's pivot to taxpayer empowerment and what to do when things actually go wrong.
You know, as a taxpayer, your rights are actually protected by the SARS Service Charter. You have the right to clarity, to excellent service, and to be treated without prejudice. If you experience a service failure, let's say an unresolved operational matter or maybe just poor employee behavior, you are perfectly entitled to complain. You can lodge these complaints directly via e-filing, at a branch, or by calling the toll-free complaints management office. Just one pro tip, make sure you already have a valid case number from your initial query before you escalate it to a formal complaint.
To help you hold SARS accountable, the Service Charter gives us this explicit timeline. It really sets clear expectations. If a refund is due and no extra checks are needed, it should hit your bank account within 72 hours. Verifications of your return, as well as the resolution of formal service complaints, are generally mandated to take no more than 21 business days, and for those deeper tax audits, SARS aims to finalize 9 out of 10 of those within 90 business days from the date you submit all your requested documents. Knowing these timelines takes all the guesswork out of the waiting game. So, are you ready to take control of your taxes? We have covered a lot of ground today. But by understanding these procedures, from avoiding those basic errors we talked about, to navigating the new 2026 system updates, and knowing your rights under the Service Charter, you can absolutely turn a stressful tax season into a manageable, predictable process. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. If you found this helpful and you want to stay on top of your game with practical SARS guidance, I highly invite you to subscribe to TaxSense. The only question left is, will you let the tax system manage you this year, or are you finally ready to manage it?